6 string methods that you need to know. I'm going to go over each of these 6 methods. All these methods are things that I use regularly in my full-time job. And I'm also going to go over one property here at the end. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is how these string methods, they're available to you because JavaScript has a built-in string object. And on that string object, it has what is called a prototype property. And this prototype property stores these methods. And then when you create a new string within JavaScript, it effectively inherits from that overall global string object, in which you can use all of these methods on any of the strings that you create within JavaScript. So the very first one that we're going to go over is replace and replace all. So here on line 5, you can see that I've defined a string. In this string here, it is separated by these slashes. And one thing that is potentially common to do is that when you're getting data from an API or your own database, you might need to reformat that data to be easier to work with within your kind of front end application. So this is somewhat common to do, and you call replace using the dot syntax on any string that you create. So here I create this string here, I assign it to strings with things, and then I can call strings with things dot replace. And then here, the first argument to the replace method is what you want to replace in that string. And then the second method is what you want to replace it with. So this is saying, I want you to find a hash in this string and I want to replace it with an empty string. So if I run this here, and what you'll see is that it will not mutate this original string. It will only assign this new string to this new constant here. So I'm going to run this here, and you can see that my first string, it remains the same, but my second string, the very first hash is replaced with an empty space here. Now, you often don't want to just replace the first hash or the first thing, but you want to replace all the things. And that's where replace all will do. Replace all will say, hey, I'm going to find every instance of this hash within this string here, and I'm going to replace it with this empty space. So if I run that, and let me clear this first, I'll run this here, and you can see my first string remains the same. It does not mutate the original string. My second string, it has one space because it replaces the first instance of the hash. And then my second string, it replaces all instances of the hash. So that is the replace and replace all methods within JavaScript that you can use on any string that you create within your program. Now, the second method I want to go over is the slice method. And this is also a method that you can use on arrays. It is a pretty common method to use. It basically allows you to take a string and slice it into a smaller string, or even create a copy of the original string. So I have this constant defined called string that's too long, and it's just some somewhat long string. And then here I define shorter string, and on the string that's too long, I call the dot slice method, and I pass in the argument of 5. And when you only pass one argument to the slice method, what it's going to do here is it's going to say, okay, starting at index 5, starting there, I'm going to slice the rest of the string. So it's going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So starting on this T here, it's going to give you this T plus the rest of the string. And it's not going to mutate the original string. So if I run this here, you're going to see that I get the original string is left unchanged, but the second string here that I sliced, starting at index number 5, T, and that is inclusive, so it includes the T, it gives you the rest of the string. So this is saying starting at index 5, create a brand new string and give me the rest of that string. Now, the slice method also takes a second argument, and that is where you want to slice to, and this is exclusive. So what this is saying is starting at index 5, your first argument, I want to slice up to index 10, but not including index 10. So that will create a new copy of this string starting at T here, which is index 5, and then we have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but it is exclusive. So this will give us TRING. And if I uncomment the even shorter string constant that I assign this slice method to, you get just that, TRING, because it slices this original string from index 5 to index 10, but not including index 10. It is inclusive and exclusive. Now the slice method also allows for negative indexes. So what this says here is starting at the very last character of my string, start there and give me the rest of my string. And if I console log my last character here, you're going to see that it does indeed just give me the last character of my string. So we can negative index. This is the -1 index of this string. Now we can also pass 2 arguments. So this is saying start at the third to last character and then go up to the last character, but don't include that last character. All right, so this is still inclusive and exclusive. So what this will give me is starting at the third to last character, which is O, go up to the last character, which is G, but not including that character, and give me a brand new string. So that's going to give us O and N. So if I run this, you're going to see that my last character, I still get G, but when I do -3 to -1, it's only going to give me my third to last character and my second to last character because it's going to be exclusive for that last character there. All right. So that is the slice method. It takes 2 arguments, the start index and the end index of where you want to slice your string. And the second argument is exclusive, does not count that, and it does not mutate the original string. Now, the third method is to lowercase and to uppercase. And this does exactly what it sounds like. When you call this method on a string, it will either make all the characters capital letters or all the characters lowercase letters, and it will not mutate the original string. And this can be effectively useful when you're trying to make a comparison in your program and case doesn't matter. So if you're wanting to compare, okay, is the result of this API the same as what we already have in our program? When you're making that comparisons, a lot of times the case doesn't matter, and an external API might return all uppercase letters. And in that case, using these methods can be really helpful. So if I run this here, you could see that my original string, it does not change at all. It is not mutated. So to uppercase and to lowercase does not mutate the original string. And for strings in general, since they are a primitive value, you're actually not going to mutate the original string with pretty much any of these methods. But what this will do here is change this string here to all uppercase, which you could see the result here. And then here we take the uppercase string and then we call to lowercase on it. And that takes this uppercase string and makes it all lowercase again. All right, so that is to uppercase, to lowercase. It does exactly what the method describes. Now the fourth one here is trim start and trim end. And this basically removes the kind of empty space of a string. If you get data back from an API, sometimes it's not quite formatted how you want, and you want to remove all of the empty space of that data. Well, this could be a very useful method to do so. So if I just call .trim on this string here, what we're going to get is it's going to remove this is often called padding. This spaces in the front here and this spaces in the back. That's often called padding. So what we're going to see here is that it actually removes that padding from both sides. So here, when calling .trim on this string, we just get hello there. And notice how it doesn't remove the spaces of the strings. It just removes all the padding in the front of the string and all the padding in the end of the string. Now, sometimes you just want to remove the padding at the start or at the end, and that's where you can use trim start and trim end. So trim start will remove all of the padding at the start of the string, and trim end will remove all of the padding at the end of the string. So if I run this here, we can see the trim method removes all padding. The trim start method removes the padding from the front of the string, but leaves it at the end. And then the trim end method leaves the padding at the start and removes it at the end. And then as you can see, our original string here is not mutated. None of these methods here make a mutation of your original string. It returns a brand new string. And then moving on to our fifth method here, we have index of and last index of. So here on line 56, I define my name, which is Ryan Solomon. And then here on line 58, I call the index of method on my name, and I pass in the letter A. So what this method will do is it will search for this value in the string, and it will return the index of that value if it finds the value. Else, it's going to return -1. And I don't know why I called this const index of y. When I was writing this example, I must have thought that I was going to pass in y, but here it looks like I passed in A. So you're just going to have to bear with that. But what we'll see here is that returns 2 because our A value here is at index 2. R is at 0, Y is at index 1, A is at index 2. So index of and passing in the value of 2 will return 2. Now, the index of method also takes a second argument, and it's effectively where you want to start searching within the string. So here it's saying starting at index 4 and looking at the rest of the string, give me the index of the value of A. And here in my name at index 4 here, you can see that I do not have the value of A in the rest of my name. So what this will return is going to be -1 because it does not find this. Now, if I do starting at index 1, look at the rest of my name, you're going to see that I get index of 2 because starting at index 1 here, Y, A does exist in the rest of the string here, and it exists at index 2. Now, you can also get the index of like a partial string of your string. So I can get index of partial string and I pass in OL, which you could see is right here. And this will return where this starts within my string. So here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. OL starts at index number 6. So if I run this here, you're going to see I do get index of partial string. This partial string here starts at index 6. Sometimes you don't just want the first index of a value, but you want the last index of a value. So here you could see my name has a lot of O's in them. Say I want the index of this last O. Well, technically I could pass in an argument to the index of method and start like right here, and that would give me the index of this O. But an easier way to do that is just to use the last index of method. So this works the same way as the index of method, but what you do here is it basically, instead of starting its search at the start of the string for the first index of that value that you pass in, it starts at the end of the string. So if I uncomment this here and I run this, you're going to see I do indeed get the index of this last O here. And then if I change this to index of, I'm going to actually just get the index of the first O in my name, which is index number 6 right here. So by default, index of will find the index of the first value it finds that matches what you pass in here. And then the last index of will start at the end of the string and return the index, the first index of it matches to what you pass in here, okay? Now, the last index of method, you can also pass in an argument in which you want to start your search. So here it's saying, starting at index 4, find the last index of the value of O. And what we can see as a result here is that I get -1 because what it's doing here is it's saying starting at index 4, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, find the last index of O. Well, it's going to go reverse through my string since it's looking for the last index of. So it's going to look at N, A, Y, and R, and it's not going to find O. So it's going to return -1. But if I say, okay, well, start at index 10 here, then it is going to return an index of 10, as this is index 10 and there is an O that exists. If I say 9, I believe it should return 8. And it does, because this index is at 8 and I'm starting this search at index 9, and it's going to reverse through this array to look for the index of the value I pass in. So that is index of and last index of. It also does not mutate the original string. And the sixth and final string method you need to know before we get to the property you need to know as well is the split method. And this is actually a very useful method in which what you do is you pass in to the split method where you want to split the string on. So here I'm saying I want to split the string on this little hash right here. And what this split method will do is it will return an array of values that are split on this hash. So what this is going to return is it's going to find all hashes in this string, and it's going to return the value up to that hash. So here it's going to return an array containing some string with these things. So if I console log the return value here, you're going to see that I split the string on every hash, and it returns an array of the values separated by that hash. But it does not include the hash. It removes the hash and just returns the values on either side of the hash. So another use case of this might be if you just want the values of like a long string that is separated by spaces, you could pass in just an empty space here, and then I could just separate this by spaces, and it will split this string into an array of all these different words here separated by the space. So here I get the same result because I split this original string on the spaces, and it gives me every string on either end of those spaces there. And let me turn this back into a string with hashes here for my other examples. But you can also pass a second argument to this split method. And that is, the argument basically tells JavaScript how many items you want in your return array. So here I assign the result of running .split with splitting on every hash in the string, but I pass in 1, which tells JavaScript I only want one value in my return array. So if I console log array of thing, it's only going to return the first word in this string because I passed in the maximum amount of values I want, which is 1. And then here, if I pass in 3, it will still split this string on the hashes, but it will return 3 values, the first 3 values separated by the hashes. So some string with. Now you can also match, it doesn't have to be like just a single character. You can match a partial string. So here I'm saying I want to split this string on the hash with. So here it's going to find this here, and it's going to return some hyphen string and hyphen these hyphen things, because it's going to match this here, and it's going to return me the values of before and after this match that it finds here. So if I run this, you're going to see that I get some hyphen string, and then it matches hyphen with, so it doesn't include that in my return array, and then it also returns hyphen these hyphen things. And then with all of those, it does not mutate the original string. And the very final thing I want to talk about is a very helpful property of strings, and that is the .length property. So this .length property will give you the amount of characters in a string, and it does include spaces. So here for one car, I get the one car length, which is, I can just call dot length on my constant one car, which is assigned to the value of A. And then here on line 86, I have YouTube channel, and I assign it to the value of code space Ryan. And then here I call YouTube channel length is equal to YouTube channel dot length. So I call dot length, I access the length property on my YouTube channel constant, which is assigned to the value of code Ryan. And if I console log these here, you're going to see that I get 1 for my first console log statement, which console logs the length of my string 1 character, because it has 1 character as a length of 1. And then here you can see for my YouTube channel length, this is actually the length of 9, because it will count the space. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 technically characters in that string. And you can see if I add more spaces, it is going to add more length to this string. It's now 13 because it counts all of the spaces within code and Ryan. Okay. So the dot length property can be very useful on your strings as well. And one key thing to remember is it will include spaces when you call that property. So those are 6 string methods that I think are very helpful to know. This is by no means all of them, and you might have use cases to use some other ones, but these are the ones I use most common in my full-time job as a UI engineer. And then also this length method on strings is going to be very helpful, and you're likely going to use that quite a bit as well. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in that next one.